Welcome back, everyone, to episode 36 of the Minot Business Podcast, presented by Bennett Creative Media. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, and with us today, we have Sara Schwan. Sara, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So as always, we're going to get right into the questions. We like to dive in. I don't want to give anyone an intro. I want you to give the intro. For people that have never met you, they have no idea what you do. What is it that you do, Sara?
So I am a hoarder of lots of old things.
Okay.
And over the years, I've met some amazing people doing what I love, which is collecting. And I decided that having a warehouse full of all this old stuff that I couldn't sell would be a great thing to bring to the area. So we do all sorts of weddings, special events, decorate at all sorts of anniversaries and graduation parties and all sorts of things. So I just bring the old stuff to the fun parties.
And that's one thing that I want to get into a little bit. One of my questions on here, you mentioned hoarder.
Yeah.
And I like to say, you know, I'm not a hoarder myself, but I maybe have some people in my family that might be a little bit of hoarders.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've just turned your hoarding addiction into something that you can sustain.
For sure. It's definitely my passion.
Okay.
Even since I was really young, like decorating my first apartment, doing all that stuff. I love to go to estate sales and auctions and all that sort of stuff. So it just became natural for me.
Okay.
And then being able to have it relevant into today's world with younger brides and families and making memories with those things is really special for me.
So the furniture that you have and the pieces that you have, you generally go for some stuff that's not maybe older, but more vintage instead of, just ordering something off Wayfair.
Yeah, exactly. I love the history and the story behind it. I'm kind of a romantic when it comes to like the cheesy side of things, that the fact that someone had this in their living room for years and they cherished it, and then all of a sudden nobody wants it anymore. Just think of all the stories that is behind it, and that how many gifts were open sitting on that chair, and how many bridal parties at homes and just things like that.
Okay.
So I just wanted to kind of keep all of those memories alive in ways.
Yeah, that's awesome because I mean, there can be manufactured. If I just go get a couch from Keating's and then bring it, it's like, but there's not really a story behind it.
Yeah. And with that becomes so much history. And so the storytelling is really important. And for having a warehouse full of stuff, even when I talk to brides about like ordering stuff for their weddings and whatnot, everything looks like it's a very collected look. It looks like we traveled far and wide to find all of these items to bring to this event. So.
And that's the one thing I like. I was doing some research on your social media pages and your website, and a lot of it looks, and we're going to get into it because I want to talk about like your style and how you mesh all these things together, because one of my favorite things in video production is the set deck, the set design, all of that, and making things look like, this apartment looks furnished this way. We're maybe doing an 80s video, so it looks like this.
Yeah.
So that's something I want to get into. But before we do that, I want to start from the beginning. So what does your business origin story look like? Were you always business minded? How did this idea kind of come about?
Sure. I guess I've always been a dreamer. I'm going to start with that.
Okay.
And there's always been something inside of me, like this gut reaction, this gut feeling that I love repurposing things. I love creating cozy spaces on a budget. And it started when I was really young, like 5th and 6th grade, like making homes and forts and all this stuff really homey.
Yep.
And so it started that way. So I always started kind of collecting things that way. And then out of school, I had a baby, did all of those things, and you just do everything on a budget. So I was buying stuff from my apartment, filling things up. And then I just knew I had this knack to like put things together. So it just kind of clicked for me. Well, then I went into business world, and I worked for a food distributor for 20 some years or close to 20 years. And then I just had this dream in my gut, no matter what was going on. I just knew I wanted to own my own business, doing what I love. So I'm figuring that out year by year. I've always been a part of like junk sales and junking and going to occasional sales and stuff. And with that, I got to meet people. I was part of like the Market on 4th when that got started. And then I just kind of evolved into the rental part. And the rental part is I don't like to sell stuff very often.
Like retail sales.
Yeah, I do love the retail sense, but like I would find a cool piece and I'd be like, I
want to keep it for myself.
I love that so much. I need to find room for it.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
Okay, yeah, because that's kind of what I was wondering, if there was always that itch in the back of your mind. It's like, I want to start something one day, or if it just kind of fell on your lap.
No, it was always something probably from about 20, when I was 25 or so, or that.
Yep.
That I was going to be working for myself someday.
Okay.
And then my daughter, Faith, is 17. She has Down syndrome. When she was born, I knew that I wanted to be in a situation that she could work with me someday. So if I was in a big corporate office, it was going to be really hard to bring your kid to work with you every day.
Yeah.
So I just knew providing for her in a way that she could work with me was something I always wanted to do too.
Yeah. So then I don't want to say you were born business minded, but let's say, it started from a young age when you started collecting things and you were putting things together. Did you know, was there a turning point, a clicking point when maybe you were 22, 23, 24, 25, whatever it might be, and then you worked for this food company? Mm-hmm. When did you kind of know, okay, eventually I want to start something?
Yeah, I think the entrepreneur thing kind of just like always bubbled in me, just waiting for the right time. In 2017, I left that industry, and I've slowly, in those last few years, just been changing. Rae Creates started in 2020. Before I had a partner, and we had done that a couple years prior.
Really? Okay.
And so in 2020 is when it changed to Rae Creates, and then I just kind of felt like I found my niche.
I didn't even know it was that new.
Yeah.
I thought you've been doing it for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we did have Rae and Lee, and it was my partner. That we did Market on 4th and Rae and Lee together. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, it was just like a gradual split that both of us kind of knew where our passions were.
Okay.
And Kelsey knew that mine was collecting and hoarding.
Yep.
so it kind of just worked out well. So yeah, it officially started in 2020.
Did she ever just say, Sara, you got too much shit. You got to get rid of some of it?
Everybody who knows me says that.
Okay.
So that's not.
It wasn't just one person. They're like, okay, we got a professional hoarder over here.
Yeah.
She's got this big warehouse.
I try to keep it organized though.
Yeah. So Rae Creates then, the business name. Where did that stem from? What does that mean?
Sure. So my name is Sara Rae.
Okay, middle
name Rae. And Rae was kind of like a spin on like recreate it, recreate it in your home, recreate it at your event, recreate it. So it's kind of like we're recreating everything. So all these old things become new when we recreate it at your location.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So then the things you're getting, I know you mentioned this a little bit earlier, and you talked about obtaining these pieces. Are a lot of them, you get them and they're pretty much good to go for whatever you want to use it for? Or are you actually reupholstering them and redoing them, or what does that look like?
There's both. I've been lucky because of a lot of people in town and knowing a lot of people that when someone's cleaning out someone's basement, they're like, my grandma has this ugly couch and I thought of you.
Get Sara on the phone.
Yes. And so I've been really fortunate that way. So I've done that. I do a lot of like estate sales and auctions and thrift storing and all of that stuff as well. I love the hunt just as much. So yes, we have pieces that come in that we have to totally clean and fix and reupholster and everything because they have great lines. And then other ones are just how they are. Good to go. Mm-hmm.
So then how did you learn those skills? For someone that's maybe starting a business, how do you learn skills like that? Just trial and error?
Yes, trial and error. And it's been years of repurposing and creating and ripping apart old chairs and painting them and lots of that.
YouTube videos?
Yeah. I think that I'm too old for that. I never really got into that, But
you're like, I'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. So then in the beginning, did you ever run into any logistical issues when starting your business? Was there anything you ran into where you're like, oh shit? Yeah.
First was like warehouse space. Obviously when Kelsey and I had started, we just rented a shop condo, and shop condo, it had the mobility for people to get in and out of, but the aesthetic wasn't there. It just was
tin walls.
Yeah. And so we put up racking and we tried to do that. But then when the location I found now, it was just a random whim call. And the gentleman was nice enough to say, hey, I'll take a chance on you guys. And so since then I've just kept expanding that. So we had one location, then the next kind of location opened up, so we just kind of expanded into there.
In the same spot that you're at right now?
Yes.
Okay. So because I know there's that back room, if you go on the door to the left, did it start in that back room?
It did.
Okay.
Yep. So and then my inventory, the more space I get, the more stuff I fill.
Yeah. You're like, I need more room because I have too many couches.
Exactly.
But no, that totally makes sense. So it seemed like from the beginning, this was a good idea because there isn't really anything like this in this area that I'm aware of.
Right.
Do you have any like main competitors? Not that you have to call them out by name or anything.
Yeah, no, I think that there are a few different companies and whatnot. It's just that my collection is just so vast that nothing in the surrounding area that it's similar to mine.
Yeah.
But Bismarck has one. Fargo has one. Grand Forks, I think, has like a vintage warehouse.
But there's not a ton here in Minot.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm very fortunate.
Yeah.
For that.
Which is cool because you almost struck upon a business idea that you thought, man, this could go somewhere. We're almost pinning the market a little bit because no one else is doing this. So
Right.
Where do you think those good business ideas come from? How can someone find one of these good business ideas?
Lots of mine was just working with other people throughout the years and bouncing off ideas. I love to surround myself with creative people.
Yep.
And so that's one of the things that is truly enjoyable about where I'm at, is because obviously I can open it up to photographers and different people doing creative businesses of their own. So I can support their businesses as well. And then we all kind of learn from one another. And so my time at the Market on 4th and the people that I met with there, it all just kind of works together for where I'm at now. I'm really good at the collecting, hoarding, selling my business side. I struggle with sometimes.
Okay. So I want to get into that more towards the end. We're going to talk more about the business side of things, what you like, what you don't like.
Sure.
Talking about the pieces now, you talked a little bit about how you're obtaining them.
Yes.
What do you look for when you're looking to add items? Is there any specific characteristics on this fits my style?
Sure. So I kind of pride myself in like vintage, rustic, boho styles. So I have a tendency to lean towards some of those things, but I love crushed velvet. I love those looks. Anything with like unique lines. And kind of like we spoke about, that you just can't go and buy it on Wayfair or Amazon or whatnot. So finding some of those that are a little bit more unique, that are making them more special. Anything that has age and history, some of like the Victorian couches that we have that are like 60 years old, 50 years old, like those have been around.
Yeah.
Those are fun. Yeah.
So then when you're looking at these pieces, I guess it's different because when you're obtaining new things, you either get them gifted to you or you're purchasing them, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So how do you look at it from a standpoint business-wise of making money? Are you thinking I have to rent this piece out 3 times and then it's paid for and then we're good? Or how do you look at that?
Ironically, that's funny. I have a really good friend, and that's how he looks at every piece for me. When he tells me, he's like, well, if you buy this for this, I buy it because it speaks to me.
Yeah.
I the dreamer in me is like, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. It would look good at a wedding. And then I think about it long-term of like, well, if I buy it for this amount, even if I rent it out this many times.
Yeah.
But as I've been accumulating, obviously there's more overhead, that we have to pay for all of those things. Yeah.
And that's where I'm wondering about the scale side of things. The more pieces you get, the more variety people might have to choose from if they wanted a graduation or a wedding or whatever the event might be.
Sure.
So where does the scale come in where it's like, okay, if we get more pieces, more variety, so you have more rentals, or how does that look?
Well, I guess probably a normal business person would say, I have enough. But I see stuff and I'm like, I need that too.
I need everything.
Yeah. So I guess there's a little bit of both of that.
Yeah. Okay. So then when you started the business, was there one specific use case that you had? And I'm more talking about the space where people are renting the space. Before we get into that, I guess, what came first? Was it you renting out your pieces, or was it the renting out the space?
It was just rentals. So before I went out on my own, it was just rental services. So people could stop, pick up the items and go.
Okay.
Then when I expanded into the other side, and it was just the architecture and it was just the aesthetic that was in the location, I just knew it would be great for local photographers.
Yeah.
And I came from an era back in the day where every photographer had their own studio.
Yeah.
Like they could shoot from their house or do things like that. And so it was kind of neat to be able to provide something for local creatives that they can come in and shoot, but don't have that overhead. And then with all my props and things that are there, that they can actually use that instead of having to carry that all on their own.
Yeah.
So then that's where it kind of grew into that for the photographers and local creatives. Then the service part of it kind of just mended together.
Okay.
That people would see all my stuff and they're like, well, we love all the stuff, but we just have a hard time putting it together. Then I thought, oh my gosh, I get to be like a Barbie girl and build a Barbie house at someone's wedding.
I'll do it for you.
Yes. So I always tease with clients and people who come in that I, as a child, played Barbies and lifted furniture and moved it from room to room, but now I do it as adult and big stuff.
You're just like, I just do adult Barbies now.
Yeah, exactly.
You've hit the lottery, some might say.
Yeah.
So use case then, you said you started renting out the pieces. What was the mindset like when you thought, okay, there's different use cases here. We can do weddings. We can do graduation. I've been to a graduation there.
Yep.
We can do photography shoots. We can do videography shoots. I've shot something there. So when did it click in your mind? There's this whole avenue that we aren't even exploring.
Actually, it's continuing to click in my mind. Well, people will reach out to me for different events and different things. Like someone the other day, they did a murder mystery party in the warehouse. Okay. And I was like, gosh, that was something that I probably should have jumped on a long time ago, because all of the furniture and props are perfect for a murder mystery party.
Oh, exactly.
So there's all sorts of different things that we can learn that way. But in part of my journey, I'm just so happy to support other creative people.
Yeah.
And so whenever they come to me and they throw an idea at me, I'm like,
let's do it.
We could do that. Like, I have the space. I can help you with that. So I love to like give out to others in the sense that helping them live their dreams.
And it's really cool because if you're in a big city, Minneapolis, Las Vegas, LA, New York, whatever, there's a website that I've looked at before called Peer Space. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much where you can rent out your space for things like that. Okay, I have this, brick wall. You can rent it out for $50 an hour for photography, whatever it might be. And you're almost bringing that here, obviously not with the Peer Space. And it's nice to have those rental spaces because I know there's not a ton around here.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're looking for something cool.
And it kind of just dawned on me the other day that when I mentioned like the dream chaser, for all of us entrepreneurs, we're all chasing something in us. Yeah. Like a dream of some kind. And so I love supporting people doing that because I know I live and breathe fighting for my dream. Yeah. So if it's painting houses is your dream, like I'll be on board to help you do that, So I've found that I'm very lucky that way.
So why do you think it's important for people that are starting a business to be open-minded for something to come about where they're changing their business a little bit? Obviously for you, it started as rentals and then you found, okay, we can do the spaces. Why do you think that's important?
Sure. I think as an entrepreneur or someone that's starting their own business, you just have to be used to wearing all the hats, like do the hard work. Like some people say like the grunt work, do all of the things like scrub the floor, scrub the toilets, make things pretty, load the truck, like all of the things is part of owning your own business. But when you feel it, you do it because you love it. Yeah.
You're doing it for the journey instead of the outcome. I'm not doing this to get rich. I'm doing it because I like doing it.
Yes, 100%.
So do you remember the first person or client that used the space when you opened it up for rentals?
Yeah. She was, I do remember the first client.
Were you nervous at all for that? Or what were your thoughts going into that?
Yeah, very nervous. The first photographer who used the studio was someone who had reached out to me and I was like, I'm going to get this new space and you can use it. And she has gone on to be super successful in her photography career and now an author. And I'm very excited for her.
So the learning curve then, after hosting a few events, were there things that you learned through those first couple times when people use the space that you switched to make things run a little bit more effectively?
Sure. So I'm always kind of like adding inventory. So we always have to kind of worry about that and whatnot. But in the location that I'm at, my neighbors have kind of changed hands with who's there and stuff. So like parking was an issue. So now I rent the place across the street and have the parking that is in the same location. Just things like that we're learning. I also, decorate off site and go places to decorate. So I'm learning a little bit more of that, like how to pack my trailer, what's good, how to do this, how to do that. When it's -30 in January, are the candles got, just all of those kind of things that you just learn with experience.
So do you think that's for someone that's just starting a business that's mainly what it comes from? Just experience?
Yeah, I would definitely go with experience. Obviously you can read a lot of things in books. You can be educated. You can do all this stuff, but until you're in the depths of things, you don't really.
And you're getting your hands dirty.
Yeah, for sure. The grunt work.
And that's where, people sometimes read a lot of books and they're like, oh, I learned this. I'm like, well, once you implement it, that's when it's actually going to start working instead of just, I read it, move on to the next thing. And then you move on. So
yeah, for sure.
Before we get into more questions, we're going to hear from our sponsor, Midco. There's no time for downtime in our fast-paced business world, so why settle for anything less than ultra-smooth, ultra-reliable business technology backed by a team of dedicated industry professionals? Midco Business Services are here to work around the clock with built-in redundancy to provide the ultimate peace of mind while you run your business. Start with a free consultation to explore our adjustable service plans at midco.com/business. Thank you guys very much, Midco, for sponsoring this week's episode. I've been a Midco user ever since I bought my house and have my studio here. And honestly, I've never had any issues with it. So if you guys are looking to check out what Midco has to offer, midco.com/business. All right, Sarah, let's get back into the questions a little bit. How did you find your style? So when did you learn your style, putting all these pieces together, your own individual taste? What did that look like?
I have always liked things a little bit different. Rustic, vintage, boho is the look of the warehouse, but it's also the look of my life.
Okay.
So it's just a part of me. So when they're getting the brand Rae Creates, they're getting who I am as a person. A little bit gypsy, a little bit rock and roll, a little bit fun, a lot of it messy, but it all is in good.
So did it take a little bit to figure out that that's what your style was? Did you go through transitions where you're doing other things?
Sure. Yeah, of course. You go through your 20s and your 30s and you're trying to figure yourself out. And then by the time I hit my 40s, I was like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I don't want to pretend I'm someone else anymore. And then the styles just kind of created from that. And ironically, that was around that time when I started the business.
So what would be your advice to people that maybe they have their own space? They have a home studio and they want to have some corner where it looks some sort of way, whatever they want it to be. What would be your advice for those people looking to create their own space and set design? Are there things they should look for?
Sure. Obviously, there's so many things available now that you can look up. Pinterest, anything that's online that you can see that inspires you. But creating that look that it's layered, creating that look like it's been inspired by something, like different levels of stuff, heights, variations, colors, textures, all of that kind of goes together. And all of that, believe it or not, runs through my brain when I'm putting stuff together.
So what do you mean by layers then?
So layers would be like fabrics, woods, metals, all the different layers and textures, stuff to soften things, stuff to add color. So that's when.
So you don't want everything to be one thing. You don't want all wood and then all red or whatever it might be.
Yeah. And then that's when we design weddings. We really go for that too. And when people walk into a wedding, I want them to feel like it's about the bride and groom.
Yeah.
I can put all sorts of stuff on tables. And if it means nothing, it means nothing.
Yeah.
So as long as it has like a little bit of story behind it and some, like I said,
a meaning.
Texture and visual. And it means a lot more.
Okay. So then that's one thing. I don't know if people know this or not. Obviously you have a ton of furniture.
Sure.
Are there other small things when you're going to weddings, like things that you're putting on tables? What do those items look like?
Sure. Like brass candlesticks and candle holders and all sorts of different vessels. And Melissa normally does my florals and there's just, so we do all of that to provide the coziness and the space and tell the love story. Okay.
So I like that. The love story. Yeah. So are there some amenities that you look to bring to your space or these events that you're taking part in? Is there anything special? Do you have like a special sauce that you're like, okay, this makes it look like it's from Rae Creates?
I don't know. I guess.
Or is it just the pieces?
I was just going to say, I'd maybe have to ask my clients because I know what I bring to the table, and I know what I bring to events.
Yep.
And so I guess what they see might be a little bit different. I know everything's a little bit whimsical, a little bit romantic, a little bit, old, used, and jaded a little, like a little bit like me, I guess.
Yeah. So then the business side of things, pivoting a little bit.
Sure.
From the beginning, how did you get your name out there? You started doing
just social media.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was really fortunate. After even listening to your podcast, I've worked with so many people that you've had on here because I get to collaborate with so many amazing people and they reach out to me all sorts of different things like events at their homes, events at their businesses, events downtown. So at that first year, it was just a lot. And it was obviously COVID. It was a different time frame or whatever.
And events weren't really happening.
Yeah. So they would ask me to come to an event and I'd be like, yeah, sweet. Yep. I'll load up my furniture and we'll be there. And so it was that way to just build connections. And obviously I'm born and raised in Minot. Connections is huge to me. So I'm just really, really fortunate that everybody in the community has really supported me. Like I try to support them. So relationships, that's one thing I tell people when they're just getting into the business industry or into this field in general. A lot of people say it's not what you know, it's who you know, which
it is semi-true. Have you found that building these partnerships and collaborations has just made you excel in your career?
1,000%. I wouldn't have a business if it weren't for the people that have helped me in relationships, as friends, as mentors, as people who've helped me lift a couch here and there, people who call me when they have stuff to get rid of, all of it. And I'm really, really fortunate. And I know that in me that I have some lucky.
Yeah. Do you have different relationships with people depending on what their skill sets are? So do you have people that you can ask questions about, whether it's business wise, and then people that are maybe more into the creative side where they can tell you if a look looks different?
Yeah. And a lot of it is family and friends, people who have started their own businesses I can reach out to for like business minded questions. Obviously I have my creative girlfriends that we all sit around and eat lunch and do creative things together.
Yep.
But yes, I have a balance. And then I also have the people who are like the logistic people are like, you're crazy. That's never going to work. And then that gives me a little bit more ambition to do it.
Yeah. I think, you're like, oh, well, I'm going to make it work. And I'll say,
for sure.
Because I think it's important to have those different resources and different avenues. So you can say, oh, if I have a business question, this person knows way more about business. Oh, if there's a financial question, this person works with finances.
Yes. Having a good team really means a lot.
So how do you think other people can grow their businesses then? Do you think there are any main principles that apply to every business someone might try to grow?
Yeah, obviously customer service. I was spent 20 years in customer service industry. Treating people like you want to be treated would be my number one thing.
The golden rule.
Yeah, for sure. That's just how you live your life. And then, 2 is not be so set on your ways that you don't listen to anybody else's ways.
Okay.
It's good to get input. It's good to be inspired, you know, in any business. I agree that would be something important.
There was a founder, there maybe still is a founder, not a founder, an investor in Silicon Valley, and every business that he invests in, he makes the business partner have a co-founder just because of the dynamic that if you have a co-founder, you won't be so stuck in your own ways that this is going to work. Whereas the co-founder might say you can bounce ideas off of each other.
I agree.
So I can't remember what book that was a part of, but I read that here probably a couple of months ago, and I was like, that's kind of smart.
Because then it's not no way or the highway, my way or the highway kind of thing. Yeah.
And that's one thing I learned in business in the beginning was I went in there, I'm going to build the biggest business ever. I don't have to listen to anyone. And then you start to get feedback from people. And when people tell you things, maybe they tell you no, you can learn a lot from it, which is something that I wish I knew sooner.
Yeah. And everybody has their own wisdom. Everyone has their own insight, and everyone has their stories and history. And so learning from some of that is good. Yeah.
So I want to pivot a little bit into the events now.
Sure.
I know Limitless Fashion Show is one of them.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important to be involved in events like this?
Sure. Well, obviously that one's near and dear to my heart. Faith, my daughter, has Down syndrome. And Caitlin started that years ago. And I've just been a big, huge supporter of Limitless Fashion Show. I bring things there so they can do photo sessions and all this stuff just because I believe that all children should be treated the same. So yes, that's very important, near and dear. And for me, obviously with Faith, she works with me every day. She she delivers things, all this stuff. She takes pride in the fact that that's our chairs and knowing that. So she's already growing that, like, I'm part of Rae Creates things, which is very important to me.
Because I think it's important to, as a business owner and a business professional in the community, to give back to the things that you believe in and that you think are good things. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah, I do. And I do believe that when starting a business, people have their own integrity. They have their own beliefs. They have the things that mean something to them. And being genuine to who you are as a person really reflects into your business. So for me, obviously, Down syndrome, kids with special needs is very important because it's who I am.
Do you think giving back to the community that you do business in turn, the community will give back to you?
100%. I believe that with everything. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some saying, I'm just full of sayings today, but something about giving without, you're not looking to get anything in return.
Oh, no.
And eventually that comes back on the back end.
And I am I've lived my entire life like that. So to me, it just is just second nature.
So I want to talk a little bit about the business side a little bit more now. What does the day-to-day process look like when you're not hosting an event or you're not delivering something? What does that look like?
Sure. So, I was still working a part-time job up until just recently. So I would still go to that. And then this was kind of like my passion, project. And it continued like that for, 3 years. Just recently I left my part-time job to focus more on the day-to-day stuff. So obviously cleaning the warehouse, doing proposals, meeting clients, planning things, designing things, putting towards it. And like I'd mentioned, I just have met some great people throughout the business. So I used to have occasional sales that was at the warehouse, and we would do that. So we would plan, prep, get all ready for that. Well, when one of the other locations in my area opened up, we decided that instead of having occasional sales at the warehouse space, we were going to open our own little store. And so now a lot of is focused on that, getting it ready, bringing in products, having people bring stuff, price it, rearrange it, all of that.
So that would be a transition into that's 412 Minot, correct? Yes. Is that the name of it? Is it just 412 or is it 412 Minot?
Yeah. So I call both actually, because the address is 412 3rd Street Northeast. It's right over by the warehouse. But we're going to be open 4 days a month, 12 days a year. So the 412 works. But it's for one to dream, for one to inspire, and for one to create. So there's about 12 or 14 people in there who bring their items. And it's kind of fun because they can create what they want and bring it, and we showcase it and sell it.
And they just sell it. Okay. So it's almost like... what is the big
like a
thing?
vendor show or something?
What's the big one that happens every year?
Yeah, the Granville Junkaholics have a huge sale, but they also have the big one, craft show.
The craft show. Okay, that's what I was going to say. My grandma, my mom, and my aunts, and they all go to that. Okay, so it's similar to that.
It's similar to that, but we have a lot of vintage products. We have new products. We have floral stuff. We have all sorts of things. So it was my spin on a retail experience because obviously with Rae Creates, I wanted all about the experience. Yeah. The love story, the romance, the history. So we're providing that in a retail location now.
So what was the thought process on starting a new business? Obviously it's in the same niche, but why did you want to do that?
One was just to support all my friends.
Okay.
Like I know that they're creative. I know that they have their dreams, and goes back to me supporting other people's dreams. Yeah. So I was like, oh, you want to make these and sell them? Well, let's do it. Okay. And I guess being the driving force or the crazy one behind that is like, if Sarah's going to do it, I'll do it too. Yeah. So that's kind of how that started.
So they thought, we just need one crazy lady to start it for us and then we'll run on it.
Head crazy.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you change your title to, the head crazy lady.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you balance then operating two different entities? You have the 412 side, you have the Rae Creates side.
Sure. It's a little bit of a balance, just depending on where my time goes. And I just kind of had this conversation the other day with the ladies part of the 412 store. I was like, now I'm putting Rae Creates as like my full-time job, not working part-time anywhere else. That now I can focus on 412 as like my hobby, and the Rae Creates side has really become more full-time and I enjoy that. Yeah. But I don't want to lose that like creativity, the passion. The
hobby side of things.
Yes. Yeah. The reason why we're all doing our jobs is because we love the process. And so once you have to worry about making mortgages and paying bills and doing all the things, you kind of lose that romance of like, scary, yeah, it does. So
your passion turns into a job.
Yes. And so I wanted to have that little bit of balance still between myself and my life.
Okay. So then marketing wise, what have you found to be the best strategies to market these businesses?
I'm learning. That is something I'm really learning. Obviously, I'm an old dog trying to learn new tricks. So social media and keeping up with that has been difficult. And it's not difficult. It's just a learning process. Yeah. So I'm just learning some of those things. That goes back to like photographers tagging me on things, promoting me, businesses promoting me. A lot of my businesses or clients who reach out to me have heard from somebody else about me. So
just word of mouth.
Yeah.
Well, they say word of mouth is the best form of marketing, right?
Perfect. You're the educated one. Right?
Yep, I'm trying to be. See, I just read all these books. You saw the books when you walked in. There's like 5,000 of them. Guys, I only know things I learned from books.
I love it.
and the guests on the show, of course. Sure. So have you had any marketing strategies that really haven't worked? Have you tried anything where you're like, we're not going to do that anymore?
Not necessarily. I'm just really limited on marketing. Yep. So I did a few things at the beginning trying to get my name out there, but no, I'm really
just
confident.
word of mouth.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes to show that a lot of people, even myself included, I'm in the marketing business creating videos, but if you are creating good work, whether it be retail or service, that eventually if you just keep doing it and be consistent, that your name's going to get out there and it's going to grow naturally.
Sure. Part of me too is, I've had offers of people saying, well, I'll help you with your social media and I'll do this and you can hire me and I can do it. And I haven't got to that point yet. One, probably because I'm a bit of a control freak, but two is I just don't want to lose the fact of who I am.
Yeah.
So just as I grow, those jobs will come. But as of right now, I just know that it's the best.
And it feels natural. Like when if I message Rae Creates on Instagram, I'm going to get Sara.
Yeah.
If you're starting to become disconnected from it, where eventually, you might get to a point where you just have to because of the scale, but there is something nice in being able to talk directly to the person running it.
Yeah. And I get that a lot. People know that it's either me responding or me forgetting and then saying, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm responding now. Yeah.
Yeah. So then how are you looking to grow the business day after day then?
So obviously events, creating more events, helping brides plan their day, brides and grooms. I would like to get into more styled shoots with photographers, doing some more creative things. We live in Minot, North Dakota, but we have so many opportunities to do way bigger, better things sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to open up that box a little bit more and continue to grow the store for my other local creatives.
Yeah. And I think you're doing a fantastic job with that. You just got to keep your nose to the grindstone, they say. So I was digging through your Facebook a little bit and I see that you have a brand new event coming up. What is that? What does that look like? If you had to plug that.
Sure. So my partner in crime, Melissa with Pockets Full of Posies, and I really wanted to create a bridal experience that was different from the average bridal show.
Okay.
So her and I sat down and we knew that we wanted to just change it up.
Yeah.
And she brought up the idea of calling it the wedding album. And I just love that because we're both into music. We love the idea. And so we came up with songs that would go in on our wedding album because that would be ideal.
Okay.
And then we are having our own little intimate event at the warehouse where people can come in and experience little mini weddings.
Okay.
And so the bride will be put kind of into the wedding. So I love that.
Okay. And then when is this happening?
It's March 5th at the Rae Creates warehouse.
Sweet. So we are filming this in advance, but I think this episode will be out before March 5th anyways. Actually, I know it will for sure. It'll be out in February. So if you guys are looking to go to that, what do they do for that? Just
$5 pre-registration or $10 at the door.
Okay.
And then you can really check out Rae Creates. You can check out the warehouse, the photography space. All of that will be available to look at on that day.
Perfect. So if you guys are looking to do that, feel free to check that out. So last question I got from you or for you, Mount Rushmore of business advice. You get 4 pieces of business advice. Everyone gets this question.
Yeah. I listened to your podcast and I was trying to prepare for this and I got to number 1 and a half of number 2. And
yep.
Yeah. So number 1, obviously I would say connections, being genuine to connecting with people.
Okay.
Obviously learning from your mistakes.
Yep.
Learning as you go, be open-minded enough to learn as you go. So being open-minded. 3, I would definitely say smile, be happy with what you're doing.
That's a good one.
Because people feel that. People feel that through all of your business. If you're miserable all the time, people are going to feel miserable. Yeah. So smiling and being happy and doing that is, I think, would be a business advice. And then the 4th thing is being authentically you. Okay. Creating the business that's best for you, not what's best for your mom, not what's best for your partner, not what's best for anybody else, but what's best for you. Because once you do that, you can feel that in every invoice you send, every mile you drive, everything, because you're doing it because it's for what you need to do for you.
And you can take the feedback from those people, from your mom or your family, your husband, but don't let that dictate how you're running your business. At the end of the day, do it for you.
Right. And I'm all about a team and bouncing ideas off of each other, but we all have our own internal drives. Yeah. So what works for one person might not work for the next person. Yeah. And being open-minded to the idea that we're all a little different. You
Yeah,
know?
I love it. That's 4 fantastic pieces of advice. Sara, where can people find Rae Creates online and, in real life too?
Sure. So the address of the warehouse is 305 4th Avenue Northeast, and people get lost all the time. So I would suggest if you're on your way there, watch the video, look it up. It's in Northeast Minot. And I'm at Rae Creates Rentals on Instagram and RaeCreatesRentals.com online. And
Perfect. And we'll link all those things in the description below so you guys can check that out. If you have an event or, a wedding or whatever coming up, feel free to check it out and see what Sara can do for you. Sara, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks.
That was episode 36 of the Minot Business Podcast. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you guys next week for episode 37.